Here's something interesting about Beth all these years, being a nurse, especially being an emergency room nurse. You have, and they do train you a little bit in this, but you have all kinds of people that come into that facility. You know, all different types, all different makes and models. And I know, and you can share more about this, I just want to lead you into it, but one thing that I've always admired about her is her ability to see people as people. You know, her first question isn't, which side of the fence are you on?
Yeah.
You know, are you this way or are you that way? I mean, her mission is to help. That's it. Right? So, you know where I'm going with that. So how have you, so what we're talking about in just being open to the kingdom of God and just serving people, how have you saw that play out as, you know, you've been a nurse, and obviously you have to be careful in what you say because there's laws and stuff, but just in how that plays out through you in your work, just serving people and showing the love of God, no matter what their lifestyle is or where they come from or how they believe politically.
Well, I don't know. I must be emotional. I think lack of sleep probably could have worked last night, but just a little bit, like a few times just started tearing up. I don't know. It's just, I think, one, how God has made me. Always wanted to help people, love people. You take that part out of nursing, and I don't want to be a nurse. So there's that genuine just love people. But then just lately, God's been using me more and more, and trying to find ways of that open door. I think because I actually was an ER nurse for 6.5 years and then left for a few years. And I remember being always worried and trying to be careful because I didn't want to lose my job. And
I don't want you to lose your job either.
Right. But there was a lot of missed opportunities. And at that time, there's a lot of, they come into the ER, a lot of times they're hurting. And it's the best time to talk to them. And so I remember the day I walked out of the door, and I immediately just felt defeated, like, because I felt like I wasn't ever going to go back. And so then it was
kind of like your mission failed, like you're leaving your mission and you didn't do what you should have done.
Some of these people that I work with are my family. They have become my family, my friends, and some of these patients. And did I pass on what I knew? The hope that I had, did I pass that on? And so this time coming back, it almost like I was gone for 3 years and have returned, almost come back with a new mission of, I don't like that feeling. And so God, there are times you can feel, when someone enters, that God, you can almost have that feeling that God's going to do something, God's going to use something. And it's like, okay, God, help me to be in that moment. Help me to say the words the right way. And as soon as that door opens, it's like, and oh my gosh, powerful moments at times. And it is such an awesome feeling to know that God has used me for that moment to help people. And there's a lot, and even more so. I don't know, maybe it's just because God's using me now. But almost it seems like there's more just hurting people.
And that word of individual prophecy sometimes can make just as much impact as a prophet to the nation. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Or more, because God has catered that word just for that person.
Right. And I have felt this way for a very long time. The only way now, I just try to live it the best I can, but is that because I was one of those people. I never realized how much of myself was in everything I was trying to do until God continued to strip it away. Because, you know, I wanted to be the guy. I wanted to be the one that people liked. I wanted to be the one that traveled and that people couldn't wait to listen to. And of course, it was all in the name of God, right? I was doing His work. And, you know, if I could be more popular, then that meant I was doing more for the kingdom. And then, you know, it'd be really easy to say, well, yeah, it never happened for you. It's no wonder you feel like, you know. But the truth is, it's when we let all that other stuff go and just be who we are, whether it's to that one individual. I mean, and that's just it, isn't it? Like, some of my most, I was going to use the word powerful, but I think it's not powerful, the most satisfying, the most full that I've felt is when I've walked away from a conversation with a person and I knew God was in it.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
I mean, I've spoke at church before and got done and thought, man, that was fun. That was awesome. You know, people laughed, people got something out of it. And, you know, and you always get a few people say, hey, man, that was really for me, or that was, you know, good job. And that feels great, you know, and you walk away thinking, oh, that was fun. And then you go back and, you know, all of a sudden the kids are screaming and you're back to reality, you know, and, you know, eating mom's spaghetti. But that was a joke for people who, back to reality. Jeff knows what I'm talking about. But anyways, but some of the most fulfilling moments is that individual. But see, that's Jesus, right? And, you know, Jesus with the children. I love in the Chosen series where it depicts Jesus and the kids.
Yeah.
And they're like, that little girl's sneaking around, you know, and then he starts talking, you know, and it's just so cool. And it's like, yeah, that's the Jesus I love, you know what I mean? I feel like I'm, you know, Will Ferrell sitting around the dinner table, like, I like my Jesus to look like this, you know what I mean? But that's how I picture Jesus. And he loved those kids. And he made them little toys, you know, in the series. And, but, I mean, that's what's cool. That's what's fulfilling. That's what's the most awesome. And I think... So I want to say this out there real quick, and then you guys can kind of run with this. But I think that's where God's bringing the church, the real church, His church, that are aligned with His kingdom. Because let's face it, we may, in the coming time to come, sooner or later, where you can't really express yourself in a biblical worldview, a pure biblical worldview on Facebook, on YouTube, whatever. You know, I mean, we already see some of that taking place. So what happens if they shut all that down? What happens if our church can't live stream, right? What happens if the fame or the likes or the views goes away because it doesn't exist anymore unless you conform to the world standard? Then it's all about the individual, right? And so sometimes I think when I know, when you build a God before Him, He'll crush it and bring you back to the foundation and back to reality and back to where He wants you to be, because your eternal salvation is worth more to Him than anything in this world.
And if we knew Him, if we really were intimate with Him like we say we are, just like a husband and a wife start to adopt each other's qualities, start to be weirdos like one another, then we would reflect who Jesus was on this earth. We would look a lot more like He did in His ministry. And let's be real. I mean, look at Christianity over the years. Let's go back hundreds of years and watch the evolution. We tried to move more and more towards it, but after all these years, why aren't we there yet? Why aren't we there?
Right. So, and you know, and I've talked to you about this over the past few years, it used to really bug me. And I'm pretty sure I've told you, because you have been one to always be like, revival is coming, and revival this, and revival that. And inside I'm like, dude, really? You think so? Like, because we ain't seeing it. We've talked about it forever. Where's it at? And And so that stuff, those verbiages and those words used to always bug me. And God is really, really beginning to show me some things. And what I'm really, really seeing now is there is revival. But it was my perspective.
Yeah, there it is. And this is a great place to wrap back around at, to kind of start to close this out. But because we started out talking about worship and prophetic worship.
Yeah.
The Bible talks about a new song being released on the earth. And I think we see a movement, and it's been criticized actually because people said, all these kids want to do is worship. They don't want any word, they just want worship. Yes, there has been a drawing to worship, and real worship in spirit and in truth. So going back to what I just said, if we are truly intimate with him, then when we would begin to reflect him better. And I really feel like that's where this worship movement has come from. People want something real. They want to really know him, to really press into that place of intimacy. And so that's why I believe that God has done such a thing on this earth, and this new song has been released. We call it a new song, whatever you want to call it, but this level of prophetic worship and just like a drawing into deep places in worship, because he's then going to shift the paradigm through that. The more time we spend with him in that, the better we're going to know him. The more we're going to pull his kingdom into the atmosphere, the more we're going to reflect him. So this movement over the last several years, it's revival.
Yeah, I actually believe. Again, I'm even surprised at myself at some of the things that I'm starting to embrace. Right? I think it's just because I'm not being as my anxiety's kind of letting go. Right?
Yeah.
But I feel like there's another Jesus movement.
I did too. I proclaimed it at a meeting we were at the other. Yeah.
We watched I forget what it was on, but we watched a movie, and it was like a kind of a little history of Christian music, and it started with the Jesus movement.
Jesus music. I don't know.
Yeah.
It might have been Jesus music. That may have been the title, but it started with that whole hippie movement, right? The Jesus movement, and it went on through time. And I'm sitting there watching this, and I remember thinking in my head, I thought, holy cow, like, I see another Jesus movement. And then like within like 30 seconds, they had one of those old hippie dudes on there like, I really feel like there's another Jesus movement coming.
There's going to have...
And I'm like, yeah, I just said that.
There's going to have to be, because we're coming up with a generation that knows nothing about him. And so in order for the church to allow them to come in and experience him, we're going to have to unclench.
You have to let them come and experience.
Because it's going to, exactly, if we start hammering them right away with all these concepts that they've never been taught, we're going to drive them out. We're going to have to let them come in and sit at his feet and learn who he is and learn who they are.
Let God
absolutely
be God.
Yeah.
Right? We were never called to be God to them.
He's big enough.
We're just called to love them,
right?
Let them come, and then let his spirit do what it's supposed to do, right?
Absolutely.
So anyways, well, all right, so this was the first one. This is our first little conversation.
Fist bumps. Good job, Dad. Good job.
So we'll see how things go in time, and see, how a few minutes with the Morgans goes. I don't know, but anyways, so it was great to be with you, and we love you so much. You know that, and
better.
We'll see you tomorrow at church.
That's right. 35th anniversary. Woo!
Yay!